where you are in the world right now, and welcome to the opening ceremony of the Puerto Rico COVID Ideathon. We're very excited to start this weekend of learning, of taking unique challenges, and of course, innovation. My name is William Rodriguez Jimenez, and I'm from San Juan, Puerto Rico. I currently work as a software engineer with a team based all the way in California, but I'm still very passionate about Puerto Rico. On behalf of the Ideathon Planning Committee, I wanted to give you all my warmest welcome. Saludos a todos y a todos. Speaking of the Planning Committee, I wanted to introduce you all to all of the members. We are an independently organized group of 5 Puerto Ricans and a greater team who did not want to wait until COVID-19 was over to help Puerto Rico overcome the challenges that the virus has caused on the island. We're 5 young professionals and students that met through friendships and school. We are all either work full-time jobs or are full-time students. Despite having different academic and professional backgrounds, we are united by desire to help out the island that we grew up in. We have been meeting since October for a few months now to bring this event to light, and after many months and hours of planning, we're very, very excited to have you here. I'm very proud and confident to have Oscar, Gabriel, Adrian, and Veronica here as we dive into the Ideathon. Now I want to transition and explain why we've organized this event. The idea of the Puerto Rico COVID Ideathon started a few months ago, around October of 2020, yet the core motivations fueling the event started before. If you've been following news about Puerto Rico, you probably know that Hurricane Maria struck the island in 2017 as the most devastating hurricane to hit the island in recorded history. The entire island lost electric power for months on end. Tens of thousands of people lost their livelihoods, and the worst cases, almost 4,000 people lost their lives. In the aftermath of the hurricane, recovery efforts on the island improved, and conditions returned to relative normalcy after many months, albeit at a very slow pace than what people expected and wanted. 2020, a year that we all seem to cringe at, was not particularly kind to Puerto Rico either. Almost a year ago, a series of earthquakes of unprecedented strength struck the southern side of Puerto Rico. 11 of those earthquakes were of magnitude 5 or higher, with one particularly strong tremor of magnitude 6.4. Puerto Rican homes are designed to withhold hurricanes, not earthquakes. So many lost their homes, with other telltale signs such as power outages for months on end manifesting themselves in this aftermath. With recent memories of widespread frustration towards government response during Maria, many Puerto Ricans chose to forego waiting for action and took on the challenges themselves to help our siblings in the South, assisting in many monumental efforts to provide shelter, food, water, and basic necessities to those in need. Things look better on the horizon in 2020 with the hopes that come with a new decade. However, as we all know, something big happened, this time at the global scale. COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2, the coronavirus happened. The first recorded cases of COVID-19 were registered in Puerto Rico on March 13th, 2020, coinciding with the arrival of Italian tourists from a cruise ship that traveled from Florida. On March 13th, 2020, the Puerto Rico Department of Health confirmed 3 cases of COVID-19 on the island. On April 13th, 2020, the Department of Health confirmed 903 cases. A few months later, July 13th, 5,690 cases were registered. By August, in little over a month from July, more than 30,000 total cases were registered on the island. Today, so you're looking at the statistics from today's Puerto Rico Department of Health survey of COVID-19 cases on the island. Today, over 140,000 cases of COVID-19 in total since the beginning have been registered in Puerto Rico, with almost 2,000 new cases just today. COVID-19 has profoundly impacted the world, and Puerto Rico is no exception to that. This is why we've gathered you all here today. We need people like you to solve the problems that COVID-19 has brought upon or exacerbated in Puerto Rico. We in the Planning Committee have identified 3 distinct themes or tracks for you to focus on this weekend. The first and probably the most obvious is health. Although vaccination distribution has started in Puerto Rico, the pandemic is far from over. Over 100,000 people in Puerto Rico have been vaccinated, an amount that is actually higher than 45 states compared to the US. And thus, Puerto Rico thus seems to be doing relatively well compared to other states in this regard. However, when we exercise an international comparison, we start to see larger gaps in progress. Puerto Rico has a population of around 3 million people and is vaccinated with these numbers, 0.33% of its population. Israel, a country with a population of 9 million people, with 3 times the amount of people in Puerto Rico, has managed to vaccinate around 10% of their population, almost 1 million people. So if you take these numbers into account, if Puerto Rico was Israel, it would have already vaccinated 1/3 of the population. In the coming months, Israel will soon vaccinate an amount equal to the number of people in Puerto Rico. To this, there are many problems that we can think of when we think of health in Puerto Rico and the different problems that COVID-19 has caused on the island. How can we incentivize vaccine adoption? When and how will we know when we reach herd immunity in Puerto Rico? How can we reduce burnout among first responders? How can we confidently transition into a future where COVID-19 is no longer a stressor on Puerto Rico's health sector? These are just a few of the many different problems affecting the health sector in Puerto Rico. Now transitioning to economy. COVID-19 has changed the ways we do so many things, from renewing your driver's license at government offices, to eating food from your favorite restaurant, doing online shopping, going to the supermarket. So many things have changed in how we interact with our local economy. Some establishments have thrived while others have not done so well. In Puerto Rico, a strong hypothesis is that this has increased the gap between the rich and the poor, since many of those who were able to successfully work from home were already better off than those who were earning lower wages and were already more likely to lose their job because of the pandemic. In particular, women have suffered the most. In a study by MasterCard, they determined that 87% of small businesses owned by women within their system have been negatively impacted by COVID-19. The Puerto Rico Fiscal Agency and Financial Advisory Authority estimates that COVID-19 has caused the Puerto Rican economy over $6,600 million, so almost $6 billion. Some economists state that Puerto Rico never really fully recovered from the 2008 recession, partially fueled by vast unemployment. 300 million Puerto Ricans filed for unemployment claims related to the pandemic. In mid-June, Puerto Rico had the highest registered rate of unemployment registered in the US Department of Labor at a high of 23%. So more than 1 out of every 5 Puerto Ricans. If we look at specifics regarding the economy, we already see a different scape of problems that COVID-19 has caused. These are just a few of the problems that we can think of when relating to Puerto Rico. How do we safely jumpstart tourism when vaccines are rolling out? How can we incorporate renewable energy to businesses when we go back to whatever is that new normal? How do we promote Puerto Rico as a work from home destination? How can we create safe shared commute options for people who cannot work remotely and have to get to their jobs in person? These are just a few of the problems that the people assigned to the economy track will work on over the weekend. Third, but certainly not least, is the education track. The impact COVID-19 has had on public education infrastructure and private school organizations, universities, and other places of education has been beyond imaginable. Both private and public schools never imagined to cease in-person interactions, so they lack the access to essential resources that would help them in their transition to a remote classroom. Students and professors alike have had to face uncertainty in this pandemic, which in many cases comes with challenges that they really can't do alone. Students are not only struggling to learn with virtual classrooms, they can't see their friends, can't go to lunch together, or they would normally distract themselves and quote unquote recharge their batteries. Teachers, on the other hand, are having to teach classes and at the same time teach new techniques to help keep students engaged while providing impactful lessons that will help them throughout their education, many times prioritizing their students before their own physical and mental health. It is no secret that COVID-19 will spark a revolution on how people learn, teach, and become professionals, and even how to become better people. It is up to us, specifically with Puerto Rico, to speed up that learning curve and help the transition to avoid having permanent damage within the education system. Some key questions that we feel would help in this transition are the following. How can we get more students to be exposed and prepared for applying to college and in that transition from high school to college? What are some ways in which we can improve teacher, parent, and other communications throughout the learning community? How do we improve access to a quality public education in Puerto Rico? How can we keep students engaged? What are the tools that are missing that will allow these valuable in-person interactions that happen in school to continue growing as we continue in the pandemic and as we go out of the pandemic? Education in Puerto Rico has been a particularly, not say problematic, but very controversial space in which many people have tried to do good work, but have not always resulted in the solutions that the Puerto Rican people want to see. So in particular, education will be an important track that you innovators will work on this weekend. So we've talked about the tracks. Now let's talk about what you have to do this weekend. So what are we looking for? The only deliverable that each team has to bring about is a 5-minute pitch. We'll be strict on time, so make sure that you stay under 5 minutes. Once you reach 5 minutes, you will be cut off and you will be warned. So this is a very hard requirement and a challenge that we want you to consider throughout the weekend. In this pitch, be sure to stress your problem statement. So be sure to identify what specific problem your team is working on. Analyze the context, analyze the market, analyze the industry, analyze in particular how this is relevant to Puerto Rico. Make sure you identify your solution and work with your teammates, innovate, and see how you can take into account new technologies or new methodologies that are particularly important nowadays. And of course, make sure that it's relevant to Puerto Rico. This is the Puerto Rico COVID Ideathon, and we want you all to look for solutions that will improve the future of Puerto Rico. You don't have to do this alone. We've prepared an excellent team of mentors with a diverse professional and academic backgrounds to help you out. Tomorrow, mentoring will start, and you'll have the opportunity to reach out to mentors with a vast array of experiences. We have lawyers, we have CEOs, we have scientists, economists, entrepreneurs, people that are interested and passionate about Puerto Rico and interested in helping you deliver your best work and crafting your idea, crafting your pitch, and helping you to do your best as a team. Now we'll transition to presenting the schedule of the weekend.
Hi guys. So the first day today, Friday, January 15th. So at 5 p.m. we started the opening ceremony. By 5:45 p.m. we'll have the Ideathon kickoff. So we'll officially start the event, and the process of the team matching begins. But at 5:45, we want you guys to start communicating through Slack. The instructions will be there here in the Zoom chat and through the primary Slack channel on what you have to share. And at 6:15, participants will join their track-specific meeting where they will do a preliminary idea pitch of 1 minute to recruit their other members. On the second day, at 9 a.m., we'll have a sync session. At 11 a.m., it's the deadline to submit your team roster. By 2 p.m., we're gonna have a business model canvas workshop. And at 1 p.m., we're gonna have a how to pitch workshop. The third day at 11:30 a.m., we're gonna have a pitch slide deck submission that it closes at 11:30 a.m. By 1 p.m., the pitches begin. The order of the pitches will be health, economy, and then education. It will be live streamed through Facebook and our YouTube channel. At 2 p.m., is the anticipated start time of the economy pitches. At 3 p.m., we have the anticipated start time of education pitches. And then at 5 p.m., we'll be having the closing and the award ceremony. So the logistics of the event will all be through Slack. It's going to be our primary way of communication. And we understand some of the participants might not be used to this platform, but there's a really good tutorial in the resources document shared through the chat right here in the Zoom channel. And all these resources are also going to be shared through the Slack primary channel.
Thank you, Oscar. Now let's look more inwards and talk about you as participants and some things that we've learned from your applications. So before that, want you guys to get a better context of how many people are involved with this hackathon. So we've accepted around more than 100 participants to this weekend. We have more than 30 mentors that are very excited and very engaged to work with you to get and polish your ideas. And we have more than 12 industry judges that'll be judging your tracks, your pitches specifically, once you get to that presentation on Sunday. Although we're focusing on ideas that are focused on Puerto Rico, on that tiny island that hopefully you're all able to identify on that map, all the people from the participants group come from all over the world. There are over 7 countries and territories represented in this hackathon, and we're very excited that you all took the time to focus on this little island right here. So it's not only the participants, it's not only the mentors, not only the judges, not only the planning committee, but we also have a very good backing from industry partners and sponsors that want the ideas that you bring forward to actually come to light, to actually become a reality. And because of that, we have all of these sponsors that represent different sectors of specifically the Puerto Rican economy. So we have venture capital firms, we have computer science education organizations, we have health industries represented, we have startup entrepreneurship and advising solutions. We have many people that are very interested in helping you deliver your ideas. So a very important thing that I want you all to remember is that this Ideathon, this does not end this weekend. We want you all to think that the ideas that hopefully we want you to continue working on the ideas that you develop in this weekend and actually bring them into a reality. So because of that, we've partnered with all of our sponsors to help you get to that point. So think of this weekend as not a 3-day event. Think of it as a start to something else, to start to improving Puerto Rico in the many different ways that you all will bring forwards with your ideas. We took the liberty of looking at your applications and analyzing all of your interests of why you want to be part of this Ideathon. And here on this slide, you'll see a few of those that we think are important just for you to reflect upon really the why that you all are here. So we really feel that all of you are very excited, hopefully, and at least us in the planning committee, we're very humbled that you chose to take your time to be here and to work to help Puerto Rico. So scan through this list of quotes and just remind yourself of really the motivations of why we're all here. So with that being said, your next mission is to finalize your team. So this is really your next action item. Everybody that's been accepted to the Ideathon has been assigned a track. And now your next mission is to secure your team within that track. Some of you have maybe applied with a friend and are interested in continuing your team with that friend, but I invite you to be a bit flexible. Maybe consider, maybe if you're just two people and there's somebody else that has a different background within that group, encourage yourself to reach out to that person and maybe they'll bring about that winning idea that you haven't thought about. So your next mission is to finalize your team. And yeah, that's a wrap, team. Good luck. Puerto Rico is counting on all of you, and we're all very excited to see what you will bring to the table. The planning committee will be here throughout the weekend to help you out, along with the mentors and everybody else involved with this virtual event. So good luck, everyone. Let's kick off the weekend.